the weekly feed. I'm Kyle Meredith. Billy Corgan is back with the Smashing Pumpkins. In fact, he's in the middle of writing his next biggest opus called Tiergarten by Kaleidoscope. And in fact, the newest part of that, Monuments to an Elegy, just released. Billy Corgan, hi. This is it's great to have you here. How are you, man?
I'm awesome. Big day for us, so it's all good.
Well, Moments to an Elegy, I think we've been waiting for this record for a little while. As you've been experimenting through these past few years, and now this one, I don't know if it feels like it's built up to this one or whatever, or if there was a reason why this one sounds so concise. And what is it, like 33 minutes? But it's a really great, for lack of a better word, pop record.
Yeah, I think there's no shame in that. We're competing against these pop stars who are ruthless and doing all they can to obliterate what's left of rock and roll. And I went back to my old game plan, which is we had to be competitive. And I believe that at the end of the day, if you put good alternative music in front of a kid versus, say, some sort of shallow pop song, they're going to pick, they're going to pick Nirvana. They're going to pick, the great bands, the Beatles. It's like that's the way I grew up looking at it, and so I just went back to that.
Right. It seems that a lot of artists get to a point in their career where relevancy becomes a bit of a complex. I really feel like U2 is going through that right now. They're really concerned about their relevancy. I don't exactly get that from you, though. Because a lot of whether they're changing their sounds or whatever, you have kind of stuck to your guns. What you were just talking about, playing great alternative music. Were you ever concerned about like having to side with a new sound so you can get into the ears of the new class of kids?
I think for me it was more confusing because when the public leaves and moves on to something else, when you've come from basically street culture. It's a little confusing when they stop seeing you as part of that street culture because you feel like you're part of a tradition. And what you have to sort of understand, I'm talking about myself, is that the kids always move to the most exciting thing. And if you're not giving that to them, they should move on. And so they're not going to hang with you just because you meant something at some point in time. And so you can spend a lot of time thinking about, I got to get this producer, that kind of thing. At the end of the day, you just got to go back to what really matters, which is what's coming up off the street. And the kids will tell you, where the rhythms and the feels. And I've been saying in a bunch of interviews, EDM's kicking the butt of alternative rock and all that type of stuff. And alternative rock is really slow to respond. And I don't mean that in an aggressive way. I mean, we keep expecting something to change, and it's not going to.
Yeah. Does it become, you can keep it about the music, but going like back to U2 when it becomes like, okay, we want to put our sound, now we have to get creative about how to market it. Do you ever have to stop and see, how do I get this out there then?
Yeah, no slight to them, but I still would say at the end of the day, music is the greatest marketing tool.
Yeah.
You make music that people like, they'll come. I think bands like that are in a very difficult position because it's like this thing of like, can we hold on to the people we have and can we create a new audience as we go along? And I've been in those positions. And at the end of the day, you've just got to trust your gut. And sometimes when you get too caught up in the machinations of the business, you lose that at the end of the day. That person at the end of now it's a computer or whatever, they have to hear that song and go, yeah, that's for me. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter what else is around that.
Yeah. What is really impressive about, through, I guess, your entire career is how many songs you just continually write. I mean, Monuments to an Elegy is part of this bigger piece. I went back and looked like when the Melancholy box set came out. It was already 2 discs, and then it ended up being, 4 or 5 discs. And you follow that with Adore, which was this another massive box set. Like, you are a nonstop machine. And again, a lot of artists would lose that fire in their career. How do you continue to have that creative passion? Where does that come from?
I think you have to really trust. Gosh, it's so hard to explain simply, but you have to really trust God and trust why you were given a sort of particular gift. And what I mean by that is if you're great at great at making a cabinet, or you're great at making stained glass windows, you have to go back to the thing that you love and go back to the source of why you began. And I'm not saying I went back to the kid at 15 years old in the bedroom, but I have to think of that kid and think, what was it about music that was attractive to me, and what made me make these decisions as opposed to these other decisions? And as long as you can stay connected to that, then the music is always there. All the other stuff just gets in the way and it's too conceptual, it's too intellectual, and music is really an emotional thing.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of course, interest when you announced that Tommy Lee was on this record, and we've kind of read about how that all came to be. But I was looking back, like, you Smashing Pumpkins, you come from the 90s, and in the 90s it was very a thing to be called a sellout for doing little things, and I feel like had this happened 20 years ago, it would have been like, oh man, Billy Corgan sold out. But it doesn't seem that way now. It's different now, right?
Yeah, but I never believed in those sellout kind of things back then.
Yeah.
And you'll still hear it occasionally now. Like I took a lot of guff for having my songs in a commercial here or there or something like that. I don't know, man. It's brutal out there, you know. And like I had one person ask me, "Oh, did you get Tommy involved because it would look good on paper?" It's like, are you kidding? I got Tommy involved because he's a great drummer. You know what I mean? It's like you go to battle with real warriors, you know.
Right.
Like right now we're on tour with Brad from Rage Against the Machine and Mark from the Killers. I mean, these are warriors. These are people who have come up through the alternative ranks from nothing. That not some trust fund babies. There's street soldiers. We understand what it means to play for people.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, I don't know. There was something about Tommy Lee and Jimmy Chamberlin that I think in another universe they could have been twins. I think you've got a type.
Oh no, there have been nights where, and I know this from the past. There were nights where Tommy and Jimmy went out together. Okay, there was a black hole created somewhere with those two in the room. Let's put it that way.
It's nice. Everybody's got a type. I love hearing "Run to Me" on this new record. In fact, when I first heard it, I thought this could have been on the Zwan album. This is such a bright, shiny thing that reminds me of that. In retrospect, could that Zwan album, should that have been a Pumpkins record, or do you look back on that and say that should have been exactly what that was?
Honestly, I think that record probably should have never happened. I kind of got sucked. I had started making a solo album, and I kind of got suckered back into doing a band thing, really before I was ready. And unconsciously, I think I just recreated the same dynamics that I was in the Pumpkins and that I wanted to get away from. So I love the music that was made during that period. Unfortunately, not many people know it, but yeah, it probably would have been better left alone.
Yeah, can you see the point I'm coming to, around with this song? Because again, for what the last couple records, they've been big, heavy records, but it seems like one of the most poppiest songs I think I've ever heard from your camp.
Yeah, I always have the ability to write like that. I think Pumpkins, generally, I would avoid major key type songs, this kind of up feel. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to what's out in the world today, everyone seems to be wanting to have the greatest day they've ever had every day, even if it's an illusion. So, the way Pumpkins works in my mind is there's always a bit of a sardonic kind of aspect. So where it seems happy, it might be a little bit sad, and where it seems sad, it might be a little bit happy. So we play with those things, and we're happy if people look at them however they look at them. But in my eyes, it's actually kind of a bit of a twist.
Yeah, I think the same thing comes across on the first single with Being Beige. It is a brighter song, but then you have that lyric, the world's on fire.
It is, isn't it?
And what a perfect time for that. I mean, I don't know that there isn't not a perfect time these days, but especially with all that's going out, I mean, this seems like a soundtrack for the moment.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think we're all kind of scratching our heads right now. Because the information is moving at a speed that is unprecedented in human history. Yeah. And when stories take hold, you can't necessarily spin them back in another direction. Once they take hold, it doesn't really matter what happened, and now it's what people believe what happened. And I've been in that position myself. Suddenly people start thinking something. You said something that you didn't say, and you're answering a question 500 times to something that never happened. It's a strange thing, and it's really a phenomenon of modern life and culture.
Yeah. Well, again, Monuments to an Elegy, you have written this great album. I'm so happy to hear it. I'm so happy you're still doing everything that you're doing, because a lot of artists are cookie cutters and go by the wayside, and you give a damn. And that's what's respectable. You give an honest damn.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Billy Corgan, thank you so much. We'll see you around the tour, okay?
Awesome.
Have a great day.
Thank you.